Welcome, everyone. My name is Kelly Richardson. I'm the designated broker with Rowley Properties in Issaquah, and I'm the CCIM President-elect for the Washington State chapter. We are really happy to have you with us today. Now, on Monday, King County in Washington State moved to phase 1.5, where commercial brokerage activities are allowed again in a limited activity. And during these times, we're not able to connect like we normally do, so it can be easy to feel disconnected. We here at CCIM Washington State have online courses on our website at CCIMWA, which include condensed virtual courses to give you guidance and practical tools to help commercial real estate professionals during this storm. Knowledge is power. So you're also welcome to join our committees and connect with us virtually. So information again can be found on our website at ccimwa.com. I want to thank our sponsors, our Power Partner sponsors, William Kastner, Rob Sargent. He is a senior attorney and involved in all things with real estate transactions. The Benaroya Company, Lisa Goodman, Larry Benaroya. They specialize in acquisitions, development, and leasing. IBA, Kurt Meyer, business brokerage. He does mergers and acquisitions for a variety of businesses. Ameriprise, Kevin O'Keefe, is a private wealth advisor to help with market insights and financial advice. We also have some Power Partner sponsors, McConkey Development, Fred McConkey, Rowley Properties, myself, Kelly Richardson. Our media partner sponsors are the Registry and the Daily Journal of Commerce. Our in-kind sponsor is BDP Designs, Kelly Beckley, all things marketing, including our flyers and materials. Now, on June 27th, which is Wednesday, we are having another free webinar, and this is going to be an economic update for commercial real estate professionals with Casey Conway. He is the chief economist for the CCIM Institute, and this will be Wednesday, June 17th, and it will start here at 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And we're going to be talking about not only economic recovery in Washington State, but also on the West Coast as well. And for more information, you can find, again, we have virtual condensed classes, our 101 through 104 classes available. Please visit our website at ccimwa.com for more information. I'd like to go over some brief housekeeping items now. In the Q&A forum, you'll be able to include your questions that you'd like to ask. And depending upon the pace of the webinar, it'll either be asked during the webinar or at the end of the webinar. If you are experiencing technical difficulties with the webinar, there's a phone number there on your screen to call for Zoom tech support, or try logging out of the webinar and logging back in again. We are recording the webinar, and that will be available on demand on our website at ccimwa.com. All right, with that, I would like to introduce our panelists. We're going to be discussing today commercial real estate recovery, and we are very honored to have some esteemed guests with us tonight. And I'm going to introduce Ariel Diaz. CCIM owns Trajan Commercial Real Estate, which is a family-owned commercial real estate brokerage and consulting firm. They specialize in assisting clients to acquire, renovate, operate, and sell income-producing real estate in Miami-Dade County, Florida. He's a graduate of Bear University and has been practicing real estate since 2001. Mr. Diaz has spearheaded numerous renovation projects and has used successful commercial real estate strategies to advise an array of clients to execute the sale of millions of dollars in commercial real estate, including multifamily, industrial, medical, and professional buildings and commercial development. Dr. Yong Nam Kim, CCIM, CPM, SIOR, is the founder and CEO of Global PMC Inc. and Corfac International. Since the establishment of Global PMC in 2004, he has developed a vibrant, thriving commercial real estate business in South Korea, providing full commercial real estate services to clients nationally and internationally. He is the president of the largest CCIM chapter in the world. In addition, he earned a PhD in real estate. He regularly writes real estate columns for the Korea Economic Daily as a real estate columnist since 2011. Daniel Ng, CCIM, CPM, founded Ng Invest Commercial Realty, later partnered with Calvin Wong to form WE Partners. Franchised with Sperry Commercial Global Affiliates, Invest to serve clients as a full-service commercial real estate investment firm around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Daniel is also the broker and owner of Era I Realty, a residential real estate franchise. And this is a subsidiary of Realty Holdings Incorporated. In addition to Daniel's many other duties, he manages an extensive portfolio of over 50 plus properties around the Dallas-Fort Worth area with about 1 million square feet of retail space. Mr. Ariho Shintani, CCIM, CPM, is president of the CCIM Japan chapter and the owner of Assist Asset Company, a real estate and leasing consulting business and company based in Aisha, Japan. Mr. Shintani studied in Canada and Japan and graduated in 2004. After graduation, he worked in various industries such as sales, business development, and marketing. During these times, he worked in China, Germany, as well as Japan. In addition, he is well-versed in financial engineering, real estate tax, and all things real estate. Welcome, gentlemen. It's so great to have you here today. All right, so.
Glad to be here.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to direct our first question to Mr. Shintani.
Yes.
Can you give us a brief on your country's COVID-19 situation? How long were you locked down and when was the economy reopened?
Okay, so I prepared some charts, so may I show that?
Yes.
Okay, so can you see?
Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
This is roughly figures that compared with Japan to US, the total number of the COVID-19 situation. Then this is just total. And in case of the separated, divided by the 10,000 person, Japan situation is very fewer than the US situation. And in addition to the 100,000 people, this per 100%, is the US is 15.3 at that time. This is the May of 4. And Korea and Japan is very, very much lower. So now the total number of the deaths is very, we can say the result is quite low. Then that's why that is the situation of the number of the active COVID-19 in Japan. This is the accumulated active COVID-19 number. And starting from the 2020 April 7th, we have declared a state emergency in 7 prefectures. And from the April 16th, the national state of the emergency. And but it's not locked down, so just the emergency. Then about 2 months, so we already reopened the economic side from May 25. So that's the situation, including Tokyo, Osaka. That's the situation in Japan.
Thank you so much. Mr. Diaz, can you tell us a little bit about the opening of Florida?
Sure. First off, I want to thank you, Kelly, Amy, and Larry, and the entire CCIM Washington team for putting this together and inviting me as a panelist. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm interested in sharing information and and also hearing what other people have to say about what's going on in the world. When this whole thing first started, one of the things that I was incredibly proud of actually was how fast the Miami Realtor Associations and our local CCIM chapter was able to shift to make sure we were addressing the immediate needs of our members and the community. Our advocacy efforts here have been really incredible. And we worked very closely with our state representatives to make sure that the real estate was considered an essential business here in Florida. Those of you out there that are realtors in the United States know that we're part of the National Association of Realtors, and therefore the largest trade group in the country, representing well over 1.4 million members. So most of these members are small business owners. We were able to affect the CARES Act that came out and eventually was passed. It also included to include the independent contractors, and it provided assistance to not only our members, but other small business owners across the country, which, as we know, that's the backbone of the United States. So locally here, the mayor, the Miami mayor, Francis Suarez, actually tested positive for coronavirus early on. Luckily, he only suffered minor symptoms and is well today. But I do feel that affected the way that he governed during the crisis. And we ended up being one of the first cities in Florida to actually have shelter-in-place orders, which eventually trickled, all over Florida. So here in Miami, we started on March 24th, and a week later, Governor Ron DeSantis issued a stay-at-home order for the entire state of Florida. We stayed in lockdown till May 4th, where we began a three-phase process of reopening the Florida economy. Now, understand that this was most of Florida, so there were a few counties that opened up a little bit later. So just as Miami was one of the first to be on lockdown, it also took us about a week later to come out of lockout. So we did, that phases, and on May 18th was when we started phase one, which basically means that elective surgeries can resume. Restaurants and retailers were able to open up at 25% capacity, but bars, movie theaters, we're famous for our clubs over here, and personal services like hair salons had to stay closed. In phase two, which is where we're at currently, we began that on June 5th. And this basically meant that the restaurants and retailers, including gyms, bars, movie theaters, they were able to reopen at a 50% capacity. A number of personal services, which are very popular here in Miami. I'm not sure how popular it is in Japan and Korea or Texas, but we have a lot of tattoo parlors and tanning salons. So we were able to, they were allowed to reopen, and no more than 50 people can gather at a place, which again was very difficult to control, especially over the Memorial Day weekend. But this is the phase that we're currently in, and we're anxiously awaiting the final phase, which would be phase three, so we can fully reopen in our economy under, quote unquote, the new norms.
Excellent. Thank you both. Dr. Kim, how is the commercial real estate market in South Korea after reopen? What sectors are most affected and least affected? I'm going to have you go ahead and unmute, Dr. Kim. Great.
Yes. I thought I should answer first question.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Regarding the COVID-19 situation in Korea, yes, we have 11,900 confirmed case and 10,700 recovered. So, and we have total death 276, and daily new cases are found about 30 to 40. And we never been in lockdown and shutdown. So actually we haven't experienced reopen, so we maintain as usual. So we use a normal life, but we are very cautious in meeting colleagues. So we're not making an appointment at night, like drinking soju or so we are very cautious. But the situation is getting better. And second question, yes.
The second question is, what sectors of the commercial real estate do you feel are most affected by the situation? And what sectors are least affected?
Yes, so as I mentioned, we never been in shutdown. So commercial real estate business not severely affected. So, but the retail and hospitality sectors are mostly affected by COVID-19 pandemic, but the other sectors like industrial and small and medium-sized office building, its price and its popularity is increasing. So, but the residential market, I mean, we don't have a multifamily business in Korea. So it's not allowed to transact residential properties without government permission. So So
Without the government
but the
permission.
housing prices is going up, and government official yesterday they are considering strong regulation measure to curb the housing price, and especially in like logistics. The demand for logistics is, rising rapidly because of the online shopping, sharp increase in online shopping.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Thank you, Dr. Kim. Daniel Eng, tell me about Texas and how the commercial real estate market is there after reopening, and what sectors do you see most affected and least affected?
So I guess from my background, we do a lot of retail. So we have a lot of B and C class retail. So we have about 350 tenants throughout the DFW area. So everything was shut down. And, first back in February, I already reached out to my lenders to get relief for at least 3 months, basically defer my mortgage payments so I can help my tenants early on. So already in March, I already sent out an email to all our tenants that they could defer their rent for 2 months. So their April and May was deferred. They just paid the triple net. I extended their lease. So I did that right away. So they were comfortable and they were able to try to apply the SBA loans. What were the affected were, of course, the salons, the entertainment, the restaurants. And, I did a mass email to all my tenants. I said, it's time to either, adapt, or if you're not going to able to adapt, you're not going to be able to survive. So basically I told them to work on their social media. If you haven't renovated your space in a while, it's a good time to do it, because you're going to basically prepare yourself when this is over, and not dwell on, all the issues, and just really focus on that. I thank God that I don't have a lot of big box properties because those are the ones that are being affected. Retail, yes, has been affected. Industrial has been great. I think that, like Dr. Kim was saying, the logistics, distribution, And we knew that past, 2-3 years ago, that industrial is the new retail, and that's the case today. I wish I owned a Chick-fil-A drive-through restaurant because I felt like the drive-through restaurants were COVID proof. I mean, they were packed. So, but I think with tenants and any type of business, they need to learn how to adapt. Even the real estate practitioners, having a residential real estate company and a commercial real estate company, everyone needs to adapt the way to do business. I know in Washington or in Seattle, your residential was able to do business, but your commercial wasn't. So that was very interesting to see how you guys adapt with that. But for Texas, as a real estate practitioner, we were able to do business. We would just have to make some changes and adapt.
That's excellent advice, that adaptation. Thank you. Mr. Shintani, actually, I'm going to direct this question to Mr. Diaz, excuse me. Has there been an increase in the type of users of commercial space? And who is not active in the market who was before?
Yeah, good question. Well, Miami is definitely a very entrepreneurial spirited city. It always seems as soon as one kind of business is doing well, all of a sudden there are hundreds of similar businesses that just pop up overnight. So what we are seeing are a lot of medical supply companies that require space to store personal protective equipment while they are in the process of distributing it to local hospitals and to other companies that require PPE. Which is pretty much every business that's open right now because they have to wear the mask, they have to use all these protective equipment. There's also cleaning and sanitizing businesses that have opened up and are looking for real estate to operate their businesses. So those are the businesses that we have seen, like I said, pretty much overnight pop up and increase, demand drastically. And it's funny that Daniel mentioned the industrial asset class because that's what we see over here as well as really moving the commercial real estate market because what these people are looking for are these light industrial warehouses so that they could, store while at the same time have an office space.
That makes sense. Well, it's good to see some active users in the market.
Yes.
Mr. Shintani, how has the lending market changed? How has the lending market changed in Japan?
Yeah, so as Daniel and Kim told already, so I just summarize that situation. And residential is the lending market is very stable because they just stay home, so don't move, just the situation. And the commercial side, and of course, store is very bad. And the office side, especially the office market is case by case, and the very old one, which is not suited for the work style, like those kind of the Zoom or telecommunication, now seems getting worse. But the new one, there is still high demand. And of course, logistics is good. And especially in the hotel, Airbnb is a worst situation. Because in March, so the 93% of the foreign visitors are decreased. And from the March to May, mainly at least 50% the visitors are gone. So that's why those kind of the inbound business is the current facing the very bad situation. And that's why the not only the hotel, but also the store sales related with the inbound demands also declining. And rent price reduction pressure it's coming to the owners and the property managers. That's the situation is so far.
Thank you so much. Daniel Ng, have you seen any lending market changes in your area?
Yeah, so I mean, the capital markets is basically back in March, we had a large deal, it's a $30 million deal that had to cancel. And because of the capital markets froze and investors pulled out. So, the buyer for that group really suffered because of that. And then, we've lost deals because of the lending. So the prices hasn't really dropped per se, but it's just the lending has dropped. And it's hard, I think the lenders are just, everything's in a limbo, trying to figure out what's going on. But I also see that lenders are, trying to reorganize a little bit because they need to lend, and interest rate is still it's still a good time to buy if you can. But you just have to be more creative. So.
Very good, thank you. Does any other panelists have anything else they'd like to add about the lending market?
I would just add, at least over here, what we're advising a lot of the clients to do is to go to the community banks and these smaller credit unions that you typically wouldn't see them lending on commercial loans, but they actually do have the capability of doing it, and they're very eager to work with people. They're not as overloaded as with the PPP program as previously as the bigger banks were. So we've been seeing that we've been able to get access, well, throughout the years, our firm had already been establishing these relationships so that when it came to take in place, we had mortgage brokers that are very, very active, and these credit unions that we've been able to ask for lending, and they've been, obviously everything's extremely slow. For example, like we one of our own personal multifamily properties, we're doing a refinance, and you could before see 80-85% LTV. Now they're doing 70% loan to value, and they're asking. It's already been like about 30 days. This process usually would be about to end, and it feels like we're just beginning. And I got off the phone with them yesterday, and they're thinking more like 30 or 40 more days just to finalize the underwriting and get everything to the finish line. They're also requesting a written explanation of how we're dealing with the COVID-19 health crisis, and how our tenants are doing, and if we're providing any rent relief, which I found is interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people are going through that. The banks are asking just more questions of how you're dealing with COVID-19.
All right, thank you. So more time and maybe some more money, it sounds like. Yes.
It's a great time to refinance right now.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, or do a loan modification. If you don't have to refinance, the banks are, like the local lenders, they'll do a loan modification. So that's what we're doing with all our centers, is once we finish the deferment that we applied for with the lenders, we will do a loan modification next month.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad the banks are still going and still keeping stable as they can be.
Yep.
Daniel, what's the volume of sales like now for you? And have you seen the prices for commercial real estate stay the same, increase, or decrease?
So far, the pricings hasn't really moved much. If there's any change, maybe 5%. The increase, I guess the volume has, like I said earlier, was the industrial. Industrial for this, from year to date for the Dallas-Fort Worth market has gone up about 30%. Mm-hmm. Office has a small increase. Retail, of course, has decreased. So, retail sales volume has decreased almost 20-25% year to date. And that's just due to the shutdown and just the uncertainties of that sector. But industrial, it's still moving. Office is still moving. Of course, a lot of people aren't going to the office, but that's something I think you're going to see a decrease, I believe, in the fall, because as people are going back and people are looking at, do they need that much space? Mm-hmm. And especially with the co-working has suffered a lot. You would think Airbnb, Uber, we thought, these were businesses that didn't need a physical place is not COVID proof. So we see that. So I think just looking at, I think everyone's going to be looking at the challenges and adapting and figuring out what's another. There might be a new sector coming out. So we'll see.
That would be great. I guess you have to be flexible during these times.
Yeah.
Mr. Diaz, any other changes that you see currently on the horizon?
Well, I would say in a macro sense, there's a case to be made that the United States cannot rely as much as we have in the past on global imports. So there is going to be a big push to manufacture products in the US. It's clear that the industrial sector has performed well during these times. I'm even hearing it from Daniel. I'm just, I see it's very similar to like what it is in this market. But, nationally, when you study it, you can see that vacancies have compressed, historically, and investors are definitely taking note of that. In a micro sense, Miami has a growing local economy. Like I said, we're very entrepreneurial spirited. Many of the country's large e-tailers base their Latin American operations here in Miami. And another huge thing that's happened recently is the expansion of the Panama Canal, and that's made it possible for much larger vessels to go through the Panama Canal and park right here in the port of Miami. There was a $2 billion infrastructure program that Miami-Dade did in order to assist with this transition. And all these factors, I feel, are positive developments for the industrial market as a whole.
Very good. Thank you. All right, Mr. Diaz, can you offer some advice for commercial real estate practitioners during this time and as the economy is reopening here in Washington State? What about advice for sellers, buyers, and even owners of commercial real estate?
Sure. Well, as you see here, I'm a proud member of CCIM. I'm a PIN-wearing member. So I definitely get educated. Even if you don't go through the full program, at least see some of our online courses that are very informative and will definitely allow you to create value for your clients. And even if you're investing yourself, it'll bring a lot of value to you as you go and confront the situations in the marketplace. For commercial practitioners, I say get in front of your prospects as much as possible. Use technology. It's really amazing how the general public, in real estate itself, we've always had the technology going out there. We've had electronic signatures, the video tours and things like that already going. But what I find interesting that now the general public is catching up, and they're okay with doing Zoom meetings. They're okay with signing a contract electronically that before we wouldn't see, especially here in Miami, that we have a huge Latin and diverse population, that they're usually used to the face-to-face meetings, and we've seen that change drastically, and they're very accepting to it. To sellers, I would say that certain parts of the economy remain frozen. There's no doubt about that, but real estate is not one of them. And the pandemic has not slowed the eagerness of buyers. And so what you're going to see is very highly qualified buyers out there. So by putting your property on the market, while others might be hesitant, you could definitely be ahead of the curve and get in front of those qualified buyers. And then I guess to buyers, I would say reserves. Reserves, the magic R word right now. This has been the perfect case scenario of, that you really have to be vigilant of the worst case scenarios, and you have to have reserves out there, because the last thing you want to be doing is, having that conversation with the lender that you're not going to make your payment, right? So you want to be able to have those reserves. It will alleviate the stress throughout these times. So before you purchase, you have, I'm extremely conservative. I'm saying 1 year reserves. I know that's not feasible for a lot of people, but just think that that's, you know, coming as with my CCIM background, that's what I'm advising is 1 year. A lot of people are not going to, maybe heed to that, but that's how serious having reserves is right now.
That's good advice. Dr. Kim, do you have any other advice to add for commercial real estate practitioners to help them during this time?
I think we practitioners should have a long-term view, like this pandemic crisis will end not soon, but early next year. But actually, we will see that we will not return to the before the crisis, but the next normal will be not different from today. As practitioners, we should always prepare for the future and take a long-term view and positive attitude. And in South Korea, despite the pandemic crisis, our chapter giving class, and 33 students are taking courses on every Saturday. So we'll have new designees, and so pandemic crisis doesn't stop practitioners learning new skills and techniques. So have long-term view and positive attitude.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. Knowledge is power, and focusing on the future is key.
Right.
And Daniel, what should commercial real estate practitioners be doing to help them prepare for reopening and beyond?
Well, I think, being prepared, branding, and have hand sanitizer branding. I think really about, we're in sales, so marketing, and I've been telling my associates to really help their tenants. If they do tenant rep, help them out, help them push their business. If they have a restaurant tenant that is changing up their menu, post it out on social media, and really market, because it's getting them out there as well, right? You have to stay on top of the game. You people have to remember you, because there's going to be a lot of real estate practitioners that won't be able to survive. They don't have the 1 year reserves, and they have to find something else. And we saw that in 2008. We had a lot of people who got out of the business as a brokerage business, but as an investors, as things start to open up, like I said, they have to adapt. If you're not able to adapt and doing things the old way, not able to use technology or improve the technology. If you look overseas, especially in Korea or China, the cases are much lower in Japan as well, because their technology, the way they don't use the credit card. Everything is through, yes, we have Apple Pay, but my kids wanted McDonald's, but they had to lug the whole machine outside, and you still have to touch the device. Where in China, you have a QR code, you just scan it, and everything is through that payment system. So I think in the US, we really need to adapt, and we need to adapt quickly. Technology is there. It's just everyone needs to figure out how to use it. I think with the Asian countries, they have the face masks. I think if everyone in the U.S. had a face mask, even though they don't wear it, but they have it with them in case they need it, we can slow things down and change and adapt. But my wife has a sewing machine, so she's making face masks. She's giving it out, and I think just having the supply and just being ready, because this is something that the U.S. really has never seen. But in the Asian countries, they've adapted early on because they had SARS, they had the bird flu, and everyone really has a face mask, right, Dr. Kim? And
yeah, that's right.
yeah, so
No,
Japan.
no hugging and no kissing and no shake hands. So
Well,
just
and that culture is the bow,
that's
and even for me, I try to stop shaking hands. I try to do a big bow, and and people do stop because they see me bow first, so they do not shake hands. So if we can change, it's really not change. I think it's really adaptation, so. We're not taking away freedom. I think there's a controversy like, oh, it's my freedom. It's not about freedom. It's about, adapting, So making it freedom 2.0.
Excellent points, Daniel. Thank you. And I have a question from the audience here, and that talks a little bit about some of the real estate technology that is in use, or maybe has been in use in Japan or Korea. Were there any other uses for real estate technology with this COVID-19? And how did you guide tenants with that?
Okay, so especially in my company, now we are more using the cloud service like G Suites and of course Zoom, and not only that one, and the cloud information databases. So we are installing like sharing the claim to the cloud system, or like a property information we stored in the cloud system. Without that, so we cannot keeping work from from home, right? But on the other side, so that everybody try to start work from home. That's why the internet connection is getting worse. So now we are, how can I say, expecting the 5G and those kind of the new technologies for the internet so far.
I think we need to skip 5G, go to 6G now.
Oh, really?
Very good. Mr. Shintani, how do you foresee the commercial real estate market changing in the fall and winter of 2020 and beyond? What should practitioners be doing to prepare for future changes?
Okay, so let me explain. So I'm always using the chat, so because more easier for them, and because my second language. So especially, I would like to say the risk, we should consider about the risk of movements across financial and the capital market. The current globally, so the investment demand somehow decline from the overseas. I've already heard that some Hong Kong owner who has the 20 hotels, and that they try to sell in the bulk in Osaka and the Kyoto area. So now the foreigners try to risk off their investment. And regarding the REIT, so we don't know why the stock market is now recovered, but J-REIT is still stable. So J-REIT was sold quite well, and maybe we need to consider not only the property and also the REIT, those kind of the total investment strategy. We should talk to the customers. So that's kind of the situation. And additionally, the three is bank lending attitude. Currently, the state funding is working very well, and the government try to put the money as much as possible to the bank. The bank also try to help all companies. That's why the situation is completely different compared with the former crisis. So of course we don't know the Deutsche Bank, like a European situation, like a Italia bonds, but we don't know. But if there's something, the global financial risks happens, so we should consider about the lending attitude current so far is very stable, and they are trying to lend as much as possible. But if they start to stiffening, so maybe we should consider about tight money. But on the other hand, at that point, the risk rate is higher and the price is lower. Maybe we should have a chance to sell and consulting that kind of the market. There's some business chance. That's why I'm checking those kind of things so far. And additionally, the Japan asset market perspective is that delaying the new building construction because the 3 months completely stopped those kind of the project and the delay and the delay. So like starting the lending, those kind of situation, something changed. And especially the old buildings and the lack of functions. It seems the demand itself in the central city is kind of somehow expanding regarding office. So that's why we need to see the micro market one-to-one. What's the demand? How's the situation? How's the office building? Can keep the 5G, like those kind of the high internet, those kind of connections. We should consider about the future. That's a situation.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Shintani. I think it's here in Washington, we've been experiencing some technical difficulties working from home, and it's been challenging to work remotely. All right. Now, does anyone else foresee any commercial real estate market? Do you see the commercial real estate market changing in the fall and the winter in 2020 and beyond? How do you think, what are we going to look at here? Ariel, I'm going to have you go ahead and take a stab at that.
Sure. Well, I think no one spoke up because none of us, unfortunately, have that crystal ball. You know, I would love to be able to say everything's going to be fine and dandy. And the reality is, you know, we just don't know. We don't know how this pandemic is going to pan out, how the government is going to address the issues. I think we learned very quickly here in the United States that the lockdown, you know, does affect the economy drastically. So we really have to see, you know, I think Dan touched up on it, on how they do it in other countries. We really have to look at how to adapt so that we could go through, you know, because it does seem like the health crisis is going to be here for a while. So how can we adapt to doing business and moving along the economy without completely shutting it down? So I think that's all going to depend. You know, unfortunately, these are things that we don't have control over, how the government reacts to these things. So if they do find a way to do it, I think, you know, there's a lot of pent up demand. People really want to get back out there and get to this new norm of doing business. You know, when we reach out to our clients, we hear an array of different feelings, and of course that depends on the asset class that you're in. You know, the multifamily, they're very conservative. They're thinking, well, you know, let's see what pans out. But industrial is very, very active, extremely active, and retailers are just looking. You know, I think it's just going to be how creative are they going to get? How creative are they going to be to really think of new uses for these empty spaces?
That's interesting. Has there been thought about changing the retail spaces at all?
Well, over here, we're actually in talks with an ambulatory care center that's looking at this area in a mall that looks like it's going to be vacant. And, you know, I mean, there's going to be a lot of engineer drawings and architectural drawings to make sure that it's feasible and cost effective. But if it is, I think, you know, why not? Why not use up these empty spaces? We were talking before it started, you know, how there's going to be a lot of bankruptcies, and most of these bankruptcies are going to be because the companies just cannot handle the square footage of lease that they have, you know, for the next we're not talking about yearly leases like in residential. We're talking about 10, 20-year leases with a lot of square footage. It just makes sense to claim bankruptcy and change the name of the company and open up something new. So this is a reality. Things are going to happen like that. And why not get creative? And there is obviously a need for medical companies. And if we can get this space to work out well for this ambulatory care center, it'll work out good for the tenant, and it'll work out great for the mall. So I think there is a potential to be creative. That's what we do as CCIM. That's what we do as commercial real estate practitioners. We get creative and we get things done.
Creative thinking. Go ahead, Daniel.
I wanted to add something to be creative. I think the healthcare, or like the Walgreens or the CVS, because they do have real estate and they have the drive-through capabilities of most, depending on which city you're at, but they do have the drive-through where if we have another pandemic, they should be able to test much quicker with all the facilities. So people, if they know they have it, they could stay home and be quarantined. So I think we need to figure out how to, well, it's government and also a private company, right? How do they work together so they can, get better testing people, whether it's COVID or something else in the future, So I think we just need to, figure out a better way for testing.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Is there how has Japan and Korea handled the testing, and are you finding it successful?
Yeah, I think one of the most successful, factor for Korea to, contain the coronavirus is the rapid tracing and test. And so, for example, in Seoul, all citizens offer to test the COVID-19 for free. And so anyone who has the COVID-19, then they can go and get tested whenever they want. So quick tracing and testing is I think is most important.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, Mr. Diaz, what's the most surprising to you with the reopening of the economy?
Well, I would say it's kind of what we've been touching up on with, and as horrible as all this has really been, obviously this is an epidemic or a pandemic. It's really incredible how fast I feel that we've been able to adapt to the new circumstances. And I know it's different for everybody, but the technology that we have today is truly incredible, even though we're not probably as advanced as Japan or Korea just yet. But, just look at what we're doing right now. We're staying connected, and we're literally talking to people around the world. My firm has been using Zoom and WhatsApp for a while now. We have a lot of Latin American and South American clients being here in Miami. So we've been doing this for a while, but I think it's really incredible how the general public has really gotten on board with this. And it's to me, it was surprising how fast we did it. Think about it. We could do a listing presentation or an investment presentation through Zoom. We could get contracts signed up, through DocuSign, and then we do a video tour of the property. So, eventually they're probably going to have to see it anyways, but at least they could visualize it and have mobile notarized closing. And it's really incredible, I feel, and I'm surprised by that.
I think we've made a lot of changes in the past few months, and I know at-home shopping has changed in the past 3 months, about 3 to 4 years from just in that short time period. All
really-
right. Well, I want to thank so much our panelists today for taking the time out, giving us knowledge that we can all use and help us during this time. So thank you so much for everything that you do and all that you do with CCIM and for helping us today in Washington State. We really appreciate it.
It was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. I also want to thank our attendees as well. And please visit our website at ccimwa.com. There's information there about committees, networking. We'd love to connect with you virtually, sponsorship, and even membership. So take a look at that. We also have our courses online as well. And I just want to leave you with one final thing here. In addition, also check out our sponsors. If you have commercial real estate needs, please consider them, and they are on our website. So one final thing, remember to look up and to look to the future. Continue to build your networking sphere and enhance your knowledge. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us with us today. Have a great day.
Great.
Bye-bye, Dr. Kim. Bye-bye, Mr.
Bye bye.
Bye, Ariel.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right, bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.